Welcome back. This is Chicken Philosophy. The Secret of the Golden Flower, Part 18, in which I will continue reading The Secret of the Golden Flower, picking up right where Edward left off. Last time, you might remember the blue and white episode. Today, as you can see up here, is the yellow and white episode. And this is the 9th of the 15. We're on a cycle of 15. Each one of the 15 has a different combination of colors. And once we finish with this cycle of 15, I'm no longer going to be putting emphasis on the colors. This is the 15 where we talk about the colors. So one thing that I can say about yellow, I'm not going to go into like 10 or 20 different things. For one thing, when a person reaches the age, the grade of 5 = 6, or Zelator Adeptus Minor, in a traditional Golden Dawn order, the traditional garb is to wear a white robe with gold trim and a gold and white nemes. If I'm not mistaken, you saw me peeking. Anyway, wearing a gold and white nemes. That's what that Egyptian headdress is called, like King Tut wears in the statues. You know what I'm saying? And as you can see, I'm not wearing formal 5 = 6 garb. I'm wearing informal 7 = 4 in the order, the Procrustean order of the Limited Value International Trademark, of which I am the chief and sole member. You can laugh. It's okay. It's funny. Especially if you look up Procrustean. This is New Nag Hammadi. I don't know what's new about it. Anyway, okay, let's talk a little bit about yellow and white. The last time you saw me, I talked a little bit about the relationship between the yellow and the black of Binah. Well, today we're going to talk about the yellow of Tiferet and the white of Keter. Now, this is, of course, queen scale, and the king scale is pure brilliance beyond even whiteness. So in the middle pillar ritual, in a Golden Dawn context, you would intone divine names for each of the 5 Sephirot. Is that, yes, I have to take a second to think, is that plural? Because, anyway. So yeah, Malkut is the feet, the Yesod is the groin area, hence Nefesh getting associated with, you heard me talk about that last time. Then Tiferet is the solar plexus, and Da'at, the divine names of Binah are used for Da'at, and then Eheye, meaning I will be, as in when Moses asked the burning bush, who should I say you are? And it replied, I will be what I will be. Eheye Ashir Eheye. And then hundreds of years later, people were translating that, and they were like, what is that? I am that I am. I am what I am, Popeye, you know. Anyway, so yeah, Eheye. So, if we skip over Da'at isn't actually there. It's complicated. I won't get into all that. There is a line connecting these two, you might have seen. It's the path of Gimel, and it's blue. It's the high priestess. So up here we have... And that is like the ultimate self of the universe. I'm going to piss a few people off with that one. No, it's God. It's God as I. There are levels beyond this God as I, namely as limitless light, and then beyond that, limitlessness itself, and beyond that, nothing. No thing, technically. Capital N, capital T. Not nothing, but no thing, because nothing, that'd be a thing. So it starts out with no thing, then no limits, or no end, Sophit end, Ein Sof. Ein means there is no, like there's, hey, I'm going to the store, are you going to get anything, or do we need anything? Ein Lochem, oh, I'll pick up some Lochem, like that. And then, anyway, Ein Sof, or as in Oriel, is light. So then this I am, the first sphere of the tree of life, is God the Father, let's say. God the Son is here at the heart. And the path which connects them is the high priestess. Remind you of anyone whose name starts with an M and tends to wear blue and white? Perhaps Margaret? No, Mary, obviously. Or less obviously. It depends on how Christian your Kabbalah is. Hey, Pymander.
Hey, BT.
Hey, what's the name? There's a chakra, right? The crown chakra, what's that called?
The crown chakra is Sahasrara, if I recall correctly. In Sanskrit, it means thousand petal.
And isn't there a yellow chakra here?
The yellow one is Manipura, but that's associated more with like digestion. It's a little lower, I think, than the solar plexus. The one above is associated with green commonly, and it's Anahat, but it's more the chest. I tend to think of the Tiferet, as it is used in the middle pillar ritual, for example, as being kind of right between the two of them. More of the nature of Anahata, I think, than it is of the nature of Manipura, though it may share some in common with both. I've thought at length about that, but I haven't come to any solid conclusions. But yeah, Tiferet, the big yellow sphere in the middle pillar, I would say goes right here, where Anahat is here and Manipura is down here.
All right. Well, it's good to have him around to clarify these things. The divine name for Tiferet is Yod He Vav He El Vav Vidal, which I tend to paraphrase as God the Father, God the Mother, and knowledge come together. And so there's our yellow and white theme for today. So we're going to put yellow and white flaming balls of energy down here, and the high priestess, good old BJ. The B is for Boaz, and the J is for Yakin, referring to Yod, which became a J at some point. Like 10 years ago, they started pronouncing the J as J. I mean, it was more than 10 years ago, but it wasn't very long ago. It was Yeshua, then it was Yesu, then it was Jesus, and then just like last week, it turned into Jesus, relatively speaking, on the grand scheme of geologic time. So don't get any funny ideas about BJ being written on the high priestess. Dirty-minded. So to help cement in the mind that the high priestess is the path between the white and the yellow, let's make her white and yellow and keep her right here. And I'll try to keep my lama invisible, but I'll have to sit up straight. Okay. That's it for the yellow and white. We're done with the color segment. Now we're going to flip the Bacchus coin. So this was from the Bacchus parade at Mardi Gras, New Orleans, 1997. And see, he's drinking some wine. And so we'll call that heads. We'll call this tails. But first, cheers. All right. Now that we've invoked him, by we I mean me, let's do this. Okay, so that's heads, and I'm just gonna, I don't want to have to stress out about am I gonna remember. So heads was first, and what's that? That is also heads. All right. Let's try to do this properly from here forward. That's heads again, all right? And I've got my notes here if I can make sure it's not one we've gotten before. There's tails. It's possible that it's going to be one we've gotten before. Tails again. And heads. So that one we've gotten twice, 2 times before. That's Tachu. We got that in episode 4 of The Secret of the Golden Flower, and again in episode 7 of The Secret of the Golden Flower. That is the taming power of the great. So, and if I change the last one from a heads to a tails, then we'll get Tai, meaning peace, which we got in part 3. So, moving down, let's say, if I were to change the second to last one, then that would indeed be one we have not gotten yet. So that's what we're going to do. We're intentionally changing one in order to get one we haven't gotten. So let's see what it is. Please turn up the music. By the way, Editor Edward, while I'm looking this up, could you let us know what it is we're listening to right now? That is Jean-Michel Jarre. Friend of mine from Europe corrected my pronunciation. I believe most Americans would call him Jean-Michel Jarre. It's the album called Oxygen, which you might remember from hundreds of trips up to Angeles Crest or Cagle Canyon Mountain, or wherever with our dad. I mean, you won't remember, but I was pointing to him. I remember it from. Okay. Hsiao Chu. Hsiao. IAO. Yao. Light of the cross. Anyone? By the way, the middle pillar ritual that I talked about earlier, there is an episode of Esoteric Nerd Podcast. It's one of the one. It was audio only for the first 7 years. No, yeah, about that much. For the first 5 or 6 years, it was audio only. But I retroactively uploaded them to YouTube, so you just see the image of the episode, but you can listen to the audio. And so anyway, there was back when the Sanctuary in LA was still going and I was teaching weekly, there was a particular time I recorded. Happy Diwali, by the way. That's what you're hearing, fireworks from Diwali. It's mostly a Catholic neighborhood, but there's a few Hindus, so you got a little bit of fireworks, not as much as if you're in Delhi. It'd just be noise and gunpowder from the fireworks. Anyway, so yeah, one particular Friday evening, I conducted the usual, ceremonial magic. Just usually just clearing the space and connecting with we'd usually do other stuff too, but there's kind of the basic opening that you always do every time, and middle pillar is part of that. So it's particularly sentimental to me because Sal, that's Sal there, that's my mom and me and Sal. He was a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine. He runs the Crooked Path, which is the witchy store in Burbank, California, where I did the Crooked Path workshop when it was new. The Crooked Path, I think was it new or they had just changed location? Well, anyway, I think they had just changed location to a new place. Anyway, so I called it Walking the Crooked Path, the Path of the Flaming Sword, because that was one of the meanings of Crooked Path. He and I go back to the old Golden Dawn days in the 90s, and he's still actively there in Burbank. If you're ever in California, put that on the top 3 things that you need to see while you're in Southern California is the Crooked Path in Burbank, and you need to meet Sal Santoro. Right. Anyway, he was there, so I can hear his voice in this particular recording. So when we're all vibrating, hey, 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 Yod-Heh-Vav Elohim, you might not be able to hear it, but I hear it. I can hear it. Oh my God, that was the day Sal was there. So anyway, this is the Middle Pillar episode of the Esoteric Nerd podcast, if you're interested in that, maybe after this episode. Hsiao Chu, the taming power of the small. You remember we got the taming power of the great? This is the taming power of the small. You are temporarily restrained. It is a time for taking small steps. Keep in mind that the one that we actually got today was the taming power of the great. But for the sake of learning, I changed it to the taming power of the small. Let's get to the reading, shall we? That's all the intro stuff, right? I think so. I think it is. Oh, I don't know. It's here. I just wanted to share with you. In the place where they say Lord Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, there is a temple, a great temple built there called Mahabodhi. And behind Mahabodhi, inside Mahabodhi, there's a statue of Lord Buddha. And just behind where he's sitting, there is a Bodhi tree. And they say that it is a descendant of the Bodhi tree that was there on that very spot. Maybe. Yeah, it's kind of... maybe. Anyway, so that tree, there is a great Bodhi tree there at that temple today in Bodh Gaya. And within this bag are some of its leaves. These were green when I first put them in the bag a couple years ago. Okay. It's a new section. It is called the Hui Ming Ching, the Book of Consciousness and Life. 1. Cessation of outflowing. If thou wouldst complete the diamond body with no outflowing, diligently heat the roots of consciousness and life. Kindle light in a blessed country, ever close at hand, and there hidden, let thy true self always dwell. The illustration found here in the Chinese text shows the body of a man. In the middle of the lower half of the body is drawn a germ cell. Is there an illustration? What illustration? Is this it? Is that the body of man? I don't see an illustration. I'll keep reading. Maybe this will make sense. Okay. By which the gateway of life is separated from the gateway of consciousness. In between, leading to the outside world, is the canal through which the vital fluids flow out. The subtlest secret of the Tao is human nature and life, parentheses, Hsing, hyphen, Ming, end parentheses. There is no better way of cultivating human nature and life than to bring both back to unity. The holy men of ancient times and the great sages set forth their thoughts about the unification of human nature and life by means of images from the external world. They were reluctant to speak of it openly without allegories. Therefore, the secret of how to cultivate both simultaneously was lost on earth. What I show through a series of images is not a frivolous giving away of secrets. On the contrary, because I combined the notes of the Lang Yen Qing on the cessation of outflowing and the secret thoughts of Hua Yen Qing with occasional references to the other sutras in order to summarize them in this true picture. it can be understood that consciousness and life are not anything external to the germinal vesicle. I have drawn this picture so that companions pursuing the divine workings of the dual cultivation may know that in this way the true seed matures, that in this way the cessation of outflowing is brought about, that in this way the Sheli, Sarira, the firm, that is the immortal body, says the footnote on Sharira, is melted out. That in this way the great Tao is completed. But the germinal vesicle is an invisible cavern. It has neither form nor image. When the vital breath stirs, the seed of this vesicle comes into being. When it ceases, it disappears again. Where'd it go? Sorry, that was editorial commentary. It is the place which harbors truth, the altar upon which consciousness and life are made. It is called the Dragon Castle. At the bottom of the sea, the boundary region of the snow mountains, the primordial pass, the kingdom of greatest joy, the boundless country. All these different names mean this germinal vesicle. If a dying man does not know this germinal vesicle, he will not find the unity of consciousness and life in 1,000 births, nor in 10,000 aeons. Good thing we're patient, because I don't know what he's talking about, do you? All right, 1,000 more aeons, here we come. Woo-hoo. This one wasn't that bad. It had its moments. Anyway, this germinal point is something great. Before this, our body is born of our parents. At the time of conception, this seed is first created, and human nature and life dwell therein. The two are intermingled and form a unity, inseparably mixed like the sparks in the refining furnace, a combination of primordial harmony and divine law. Therefore it is said, quote, in the state before the appearance, there is an inexhaustible breath. Furthermore, it is said, quote, before the parents have begotten the child, the breath of life is complete and the embryo perfect. End quote. But when the embryo moves and the embryo vesicle is torn, it is as if a man lost his footing on a high mountain. With a cry, the man plunges down to earth, and from then on, human nature and life are divided. That reminds me of when I was young. I remember being just in awe of trees. And then at a certain point, I was like, it's just a tree. You know, it's cool. Atari. For you younger folk, that's sort of like Nintendo, but for Gen X. Anyway. From this moment, human nature can no longer see life, nor life human nature. And now fate takes its course. Youth passes over into maturity, maturity into old age, and old age into woe. Therefore, the Julai, Julai, the footnote is the Buddha Tathagata, in his great compassion, let the secret making and melting be known. He teaches one to re-enter the womb. Womb with a B. And create anew the human nature and life of the ego. Oh, that's what the Buddha taught. Oh, I thought it was something completely different from that. Wonder what sutra this guy's reading. Ooh. He shows how spirit and soul, parentheses vital breath, end parentheses, enter the germinal vesicle, how they must combine to become a unity in order to complete the true fruit. Just as the sperm and soul of father and mother entered this germinal vesicle and united as one being in order to complete the embryo, the principle is the same. Within the germinal vesicle is the fire of the ruler. At the entrance of the germinal vesicle is the fire of the minister. In the whole body, the fire of the people. When the fire of the ruler expresses itself, it is received by the fire of the minister. When the fire of the minister moves, the fire of the people follows him. When the three fires express themselves in this order, a man develops. But when the three fires return in reverse order, the Tao develops. I knew it! Power to the people! Yeah. This is the reason that all the sages began their work at the germinal vesicle in which outflowing had ceased. If one does not establish this path, but sets up other things, it is of no avail. Therefore, all the schools and sects, sects, which do not know that the ruling principle of consciousness and life is in this germinal vesicle, and which seek it in the outer world, can accomplish nothing, despite all their efforts to find it outside. And that's the end of the section. That's part 1. And there's a part 2. There's not much left of the Hsing-ming. And then we get into the commentary of Carl Jung. Remember our old buddy Carl Jung? We read about his black books on another channel. So this is what we've read so far. This is Carl Jung. So I'm not in a hurry to make this Secret of the Golden Flower portion of Chicken Philosophy a second Carl Jung portion. And then Chicken Philosophy for a while will be 2/5 Carl Jung. And by the way, let's bring out the revised wheel. All right. So you might have noticed the purple one is a little different. It used to say Desjardins on it, and now it's got something in Arabic, meaning the chicken wheel is 2/5 Arabic. And by the time we get to The Secret of the Golden Flower, Part 20, it will be 2/5 Carl Jung. Well, by the way, the Arabic is Nag Hammadi. That's this right here. We finished with Catholicism. We're all done. We did enough Catholicism on chicken philosophy. Now we're going to get into some Gnosticism. So I'm looking forward to that. The next time it's purple. In fact, the next time you see me, it's going to be purple and yellow. It's going to be me introducing the new book, the new pedal, the new series on chicken philosophy, the Nag Hammadi. So that'll be fun. Special thanks to Keter and Tiferet and to the High Priestess, here shown in yellow and white to remind us of her place. Though she be blue, her place between the crown and the heart, not the anahata heart, but the solar plexus heart, the center, this thing, this heart. Between here and here is her, this lady here. That's. Thank you all for tuning in today. And next time, I always like it, and I always have to think about it. So last time, what did we do last time? Last time was Martin Luther, and it was Gwydion. Who could forget? That was quite a thing last time, wasn't it? That means next time it's going to be Edward, and it's going to be Meccan Revelations, which means it's going to be blue and green. So until the blue and green comes, I wish you a sincere and heartfelt